Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the 167 podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be speaking about how we can get you to where you want to go. Stick around. There's a saying in the Bible that everybody in your room in a coffee shop this message. Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the 167 podcast. It is so good to see you, to be with you, and to be with Sven.
And to be seen by you.
And to be seen by, to be watched by you. Yeah. It's so good.
It looks so peaceful while he sleeps, like watching you sleep.
Your curtains are great from the outside. It's really good to see everybody. And if you are watching, if you're joining us on YouTube, we are back in the studio.
That's right.
We took some time just venturing, checking out other venues,
showing things
other
off.
Filming locations, just showing up. And now we're back.
This is
kind of
home.
where it all started. This is home, right?
This is home, right here, at this table.
Yeah, this is what
with
we do.
This beautiful view of all this construction. Although, have you noticed how many houses are actually getting popped up here now?
Huge amount of houses.
They weren't here a year ago.
No, this is like that Baldwin Estates.
Yeah, totally. A little bit further on. Fantastic.
Come on, somebody.
Yeah, so we're happy to be in the studio.
Yeah.
Happy to be in a place where we can connect with you guys again. And I'd love to know what has been people's favorite episode over the last. We've done about 34, 35 episodes.
We've done 34. I think it's our 35th.
Our 35th. I would love to know what has been the favorite out of 35.
Yeah, man. It's such a crazy thought. I think we've done 35.
Do you have a favorite?
Wow. We had some good ones. I enjoyed actually doing that. It was in the kind of the early stage. I still think we were figuring things out. But
yes.
I loved us working through that book that we did with Craig Rochelle.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was gold.
I love doing that and just working through some of that material, and even just the last kind of 4 or 5 weeks that we've been going through this leadership content. I've loved this. I've loved being able to have these conversations, and just because even for us, things are just getting kind of refreshed, and we're being reminded of some of the key kind of fundamentals. So I've loved it, but I'm just blown away that we've done 35 episodes. And I checked out our Instagram page. And for those of you that are listening and watching, we've got an Instagram, the 167 podcast, and just kind of how that page is growing and getting there, and some of the people that are following, the guys in our church and people that we just have on our social media. I was just encouraged. I was like,
that's cool. Thank you so much.
There's some different faces, different names. So we just want to say that to everybody that listens and watches and follows in any type of capacity, thank you so much. We really appreciate you, and we really hope that we can continue to help and continue to provide weekly content that blesses you.
We are moving. I think the mental health one with Sandra was definitely.
Jeez, I remember.
Everybody else is that was the most played one.
That was a great conversation
on YouTube family. But I'm looking back, and I think Hope in the Dark was fantastic. Yeah. I really loved that. Dangers of Burnout.
Dangers of Burnout.
Lot to say.
And a lot of people tuned in for that one as well.
Yeah. And I think was it? Oh man, there are so many. I think Are You a Hypocrite? That was fun. That was a fun conversation.
I think when somebody sees that, it's kind of clickbaity. So you're like, am I a hypocrite?
No, I'm looking at these, and a few of them are a bit clickbaity, but it's all cool. We're going. And to let you know, as of today, on our audio podcast, because we got audio, and I know most people actually listen to us on YouTube, but when you're listening, we're about 997 plays. So we've got 3 plays to hit us on audio podcast to hit the 1,000 mark on
That's
plays.
Amazing.
Over 34 episodes. I'm pretty pleased with that. I don't know about you.
I'm very pleased with that. And I think we've been doing this probably for just, it's quite a bit longer than a year. Is it like a year and a few months? Because I think we got started.
Yeah.
I think we got started in maybe around the October mark, or
it could be. No, yeah.
Around about the fourth quarter, beginning of fourth quarter of last year.
Yes, that sounds about right.
And the fact that we've been able to change and adapt and
exactly the 21st of October was our first podcast.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
It's the fact that we've been going for like a year and a little bit, man. It's just so awesome that we've been able to do this. And it's good to reflect and to look back.
Totally. Thanks,
and,
community.
And thank you to everybody who's come along and done the journey with us. And we're excited about today.
That's right.
We're going to be chatting a little bit about, if you have been joining us, we've been seeing a bit about what we're talking about. We've been talking about things about, vision. We've been speaking a bit about culture, and we've been going into leadership in kind of a big way. And we're kind of just bringing the whole conversation together today on the topic of, being a path maker, someone who develops strategy and has a strategy. And this is so important because I think that a lot of us and a lot of leaders hopefully have a destination. They have an end goal. This is where we want to be, the organization, the church, my family. This is what we want it to look like, in an ideal world. But a lot of us can kind of, we're very maybe reliant on the end goal, but we don't always put the right things in place in order to get us there. The where is clear, but often it's the how that needs the thought. It needs the clarity. It needs, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do today that might feel small or might feel like, is this really getting us closer? But we know that if we continue to do this thing daily, consistently, this is going to get us to the where.
Good.
And I know that in our journey as a church and your journey as well, that strategy has been massive, and it's something that we've been learning over the last few years and getting better at it.
I think it's a constant improvement. There are some people who are just gifted strategists. They're just thinking like, I want to build out a battle plan.
I'm so jealous of guys like that.
But look, sometimes it's a gift set, and it is really practical and helpful. I'm not like that. I don't know if you're like that either, naturally speaking.
I don't think naturally.
But the beautiful thing is you can still, if you break it down to its simplest forms, you can still build a strategy.
Yeah.
And really, I think people get a little bit sidewinded by the fact that strategy, it sounds so like intricate and deep, and I think it does get complicated if you're doing big, complicated things.
Yes.
But I think bringing it down to a simple strategy, to be honest, I think is the most helpful for everyone, especially if you've got run a larger organization. The more complex things become, the harder it is for people to follow it.
Yeah.
So we like simple, right?
Yeah.
Excellent, but simple. And so I think it's just on a basic level is how are you going to get to where you want to go to?
Yeah.
So we've often, set dreams and plans, and this is what we want to do, and this is what we want to do. And when we don't build a how setup, like what are the steps we're going to take to get there?
Yeah.
It just stays on the list of things we want to do.
Yeah.
But as soon as we've built it into like a weekly rhythm, it's actually taking traction. Think about this podcast, for instance. Our vision for this podcast was to add value to people in their walk with God midweek, right? So not just on a Sunday, but actually connect with people midweek. How do we do that? Well, we needed to put a schedule together, and we've tried different schedules.
Yeah, we have tried.
Just to try and get us to go, okay, if this isn't part of our weekly rhythm, it's actually not going to get done.
No.
And so the strategy is, okay, this is how we're going to get to serving people midweek.
Yeah.
And I think that's been super helpful. Like at the moment, I've got this I've actually been going 4 weeks on gym. Like,
it's awesome.
It's probably the most consistent I've been in my short life, my
few years.
Yeah. And like I always wanted to get fit. I've always wanted to be in a good physical condition, but I've never had a rhythm, never had a how am I going to do this? And you always think, I just need somebody to go with me. Yeah, maybe you do, but I twisted my ankle, so I haven't been able to play football for a couple of weeks. I'm probably not going to play for a couple of months. And just the simple act of downloading an app that helps track my gym, gives me a gym program and helps me to stay on target with that, has actually helped me to stay consistent over the last 4 weeks, even the days I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And so that's been super helpful. So and I think vision is something that's so important because it tells us as to where we're going. But if we don't have the how, the vision stays a daydream.
Yeah.
And if we are always looking at the vision but never developing the how, we lose track of the vision, right? And I think, or lose track of how to get there. And so I definitely think there's an amazing place for people who can just put their head down.
Yeah.
And let's just do what we need to do today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't always... You're so right. And I mean, we can't always, you've got the destination, you've got the where, you've got where you want to go, but you can't always, the decisions that you make that get you there are not always the decisions that feel like they're going to get you there. And I say that sometimes we have got to do things that are building on a different level today in order to put us on a level to achieve what we want tomorrow. Good. Like when I think about strategy, I think a lot about military and army and like
Call of Duty,
Napoleon, Call of Duty, Fortnite. There's nothing military about that.
Is there strategy in Fortnite?
Yeah. Big time. Okay. Big time. We could chat about that.
Yeah.
And I just think about obviously there's a destination. We want to win the war, whatever that war may be. We want to win the fight. But the greatest kind of military powers and the most successful men that we read about had phenomenal strategy. They made use of location. They made use of high ground and low ground. They knew what type of armor to equip their people with. And it's not saying that I've done tremendous research on, but in just looking at those leaders and how they won those battles, it was having a look at, yes, we want to win, but what is going to help us? What do we need to do maybe differently? What do we need to look at? Where do we need to fight in order for us to get to the end goal?
Yes.
So even that, as we're talking about strategy, even that, if it helps paint a clearer picture, it's about, we want to win, we want to get where we need to be, but it requires doing things today that are different, are requiring something different of you. It's not just going out there and swinging your sword.
Yes.
Because maybe that's how a lot of battles are lost.
Yeah.
Maybe there's different ways to think about it and
100%.
to do it. So even just conversations on strategy are inspiring for me, because we spoke a little bit about what comes naturally and stuff. And for me, like, I think for you, naturally, I think you're very good at the where. This would be amazing.
Yes.
Like, let's do this, like, type thing. And for me, I'm quite good at implementing, and I like structure. And I like, putting teams together and getting stuff done. But this, I want to talk a little bit about systems, because systems for me are just inspiring. Like how people put things in place that involve equipping, involve training, involve a bunch of different levels in order to get us. Because, I mean, we've got a goal, we've got a destination. We want to, just for us personally, we want to plant 5 churches, and there's a lot that goes into that. But what we've been focusing on lately, and a lot of our conversations, and even something you can even mention, is we want to just focus a little bit on our training, because if you want to plant 5 churches but you haven't got pastors and you haven't got dream teamers, people that are going to be there on the Sunday and carry strong and lead and carry culture and do all of these things, like it's a great vision, but when that Sunday comes, it's probably going to be a little awkward, because it's just not going to work.
100%.
But we can't just expect that 2 weeks before launch day that okay, let's train some guys. We're doing that today, and we're implementing that today, and that's kind of like a system. And we've been inspired by guys like Chris Hodges, and that have these most amazing systems of allowing people literally from someone who maybe doesn't know God at all to come into their church, maybe for the first Sunday. And then there is a step. There's some way for there to go. And there's always a next step. There's always another way for someone to go. They could go literally from being unsaved, lost, far from God, to a place where they are flourishing, serving, a part of God's plan for their life, and moving and growing. And systems just blow me away. I don't know how when you look at systems, are there ones that you're like, oh, that's amazing, we can do that? Are there ones that you feel like you're already quite good at? Because for me, systems, when I look at them, it's often quite foreign, and I have to wrap my head around it and think, okay, what does that look like for us?
Yeah, that's good. Like, systems for me, I'm not a systems person, in a sense of I'm not great at putting together systems of like, okay, do this and this and this.
Yes, it's like a progression.
Yeah, I'm very much an unstructured person, so it's hard for me to run with a system.
Yeah.
But we all have systems.
Yes,
That's the thing. You have one by default. Like, every morning you wake up, you do this. That's your wake up system, right? So we all have systems, but I'm not a system. I can think through a system, but you need people who focus on the systems and keep things going. But I just think simplicity is where we win.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that's natural to us.
Yeah.
And so, like talking about this podcast, the fact that we have a recording date every week. This is the day we record, and because we're both very well, I'm unstructured, but we're both
same.
like learning system things. Like, those things changes, but I think that's also important for us to realize that systems need to be flexible. Strategy needs to be flexible, changing on the go when needed. But this is a system. Every Friday we record now for the 167 podcast, and so that it can go out the following Tuesday. And when it changes, we change with it. But I struggle with systems. Like, I want to do what feels good.
Yeah.
But the reality is that doesn't help.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this. I don't know. How do you go when you go on holiday?
Yeah.
This is going to tell us a lot of insight into Phil could see right now. When you go on holiday, walk me through the holiday process.
Okay.
I'm talking about from where you're going, from how you're going to get there. What are you taking with you? Have you thought through what you're going to be doing on the other side? Like give us the Kutsia family holiday.
I think
plan.
Yeah, that's good. I think on a personal level, I've gotten a lot better. I think going to boarding school was helpful for me because I then had to almost have a bit of a system in I'm gonna leave home for a week, and then I'm going to go to boarding school, sometimes longer, and I need to have enough to keep me going. I need to have the right amount of undies. I need to have the right amount of clothes. I need toothpaste. I need a toothbrush. And then you almost kind of start to develop. So when we go on a holiday now, I used to be someone that maybe would forget one or two things, but I feel like, we've improved on that. And we do actually give a bit of thought as to, definitely from Jean-Marie's side, because she's very structured.
Yes.
Like very structured. So she will think about things and she'll assist me in thinking about, hey, this is what we're going to do. Do we have the right apparel for that type of trip? What does our budget look like? I often would think, okay, cool, we're going, we've got some cash. It's like, but we need petrol, we need food, who's going to look after the dogs? And there's a lot of thought. So in today's world, I think that we've gotten to a place in a system where we try to do a lot of our thinking on the front end.
Yes.
And then hopefully in the build up in those last kind of 2-3 days, we can just be excited. But it's so cool that you've asked this question, because even when it comes to implementing and formulating systems, you've got to have the where very present when you're thinking about the system or even the strategy, because it's the where that's going to determine the how and the what.
Yes.
You can't just think about these are good things to do as people, because you might have a lot of great things to do that are great for you as a person, are great for you as a team or your church. But if it's not taking you closer to the where that you've set before you, it's great, but it's kind of wasting your time.
It is. Your ladder's against the wrong wall.
Totally. So for holiday, we're like, well, where are we going? and then once we know where we're going, we can begin to plan.
I think that's cool, because even the way you described that there are some questions that maybe Jean-Marie and you are thinking through before you go on holiday. That, in a sense, is what a system does.
Yeah.
It eliminates what's unnecessary.
Yeah.
And it allows for the right kinds of conversations and decisions to be made. And it's scalable. No matter where you go, if you've got those systematic questions that you're asking, it's going to help you to prepare and help you to have a great holiday. For me, this is how Lara and I go on holiday. We talk about where we're going to go. Awesome, fantastic, got a great spot. And then the day before we pack.
Okay.
And we go.
Yeah.
That, and honestly, and then we go, okay, cool, what are we going to do when we're there?
Yeah.
But this is on the way there.
This is on the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we want to see, how do we feel on the day? What's the weather like on the day?
Yeah.
And that's a completely different way to travel. And for some people, that's highly unnerving. We did a European trip.
No, you didn't do a European trip like that.
We did a European trip where we didn't know where we were going to stay next. We would literally get there. We think, okay, cool. In the next 2 days, we want to go somewhere. So then we start looking and we book a place, and then we go.
It's exciting.
No pre-booked tickets. No, nothing.
Wow.
That's how we go. Like, that's our vibe. The only reason why we've had to plan a little bit better is because we had a little child, and now we have to plan for them.
Yeah.
For him. But so that's the differences that are there. But I think that you get some people who are looking at the weather forecast. They're looking at the events that are happening around there. They're looking at, what kind of facilities they're going to be, and are planning that. And that is amazing. But you can almost overplan that and not enjoy the holiday. But for some people, if they don't do that, they can't enjoy the holiday.
Yeah, they're too strict. Is there a system that's better? Is there a way, like, do it that way, it's going to serve you better in the long run? Or is it about, like, let's look at the type of people we are.
Good. Yeah.
And then try to be as kind of, I don't want to say honoring, but try to understand who we are the best and understand where we want to go, and then be kind of faithful to that.
Yeah, I think you've said it actually just perfectly right. I heard Chris Hodges say the system that is the best system is the one that works.
Yeah.
So if it's working, that's great.
If it's not working,
if it's not working,
yeah.
then if we're doing a whole bunch of stuff, but it's not helping us to move the needle, or getting us any closer. Like if we're planning this trip and we need to make this stop and we need to develop these people and we need to create that environment. If that's not happening, then our system is wrong, and we need to change our system and change the hows of what we're doing. And I think that's a really good question. And I think, how do you know that it's not working? Well, it's not getting you any closer.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to put it.
So I know a book that he and a lot of top leaders refer to is the E-Myth Revisited, and talking about how systems need to be scalable. They need to, like for instance, the McDonald's thing. They do not make the greatest burger by far, but they're one of the biggest burger companies in the world.
Yeah.
Why? Because they deliver the same taste everywhere, and they deliver it quickly.
Yeah.
So they developed a great system, not a great product.
Yes.
And so their systems are powerful, and we need to give good attention to them. I think that book, E-Myth Revisited, I haven't read it yet.
I must also check that out.
But for strategy and systems, apparently it's like the book to read.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Let us know.
For us people to jump on, if somebody has read that, let us know. And I think while we're talking about strategy and systems, and even maybe a question for you that you'd be able to answer quite well, is that a lot of people, when you think about being a strategist or being a leader that makes strategies, often, what Phil Pringle calls it a path maker. It's making a path.
Yeah.
And for some leaders, you're going down a path that maybe has already been forged. So you've got some idea, you've got an idea of maybe what works, what doesn't work. You've got an idea of what type of people you'll need, or maybe you've got no idea of the type of people you'll need. And he spoke a little bit, and what we also like to talk about is about being, like a pioneer, making a path where there wasn't a path, and how to be a strategist when you're moving almost into the unknown. You've still got a clear kind of where, but now you are now making a path that kind of wasn't there, and you've had to do that kind of with the church journey, and there's been a lot of things that that you and our church we've done. Kind of we just went for it, and you figure it out on the way, which it's been amazing, because in some instances, like for example, we bought film cameras long before church online was something of a necessity. But then when we did get to a place where, hey, church needs to be online, people can't come to the building, we're like, oh, thank God for that. We've got the cameras already. So that was a pioneering decision that really worked out in the end. What is like one or two things, and I'm putting you on the spot, what's like one or two things that you've learned, like as a leader, you've needed to have strategy, you've needed to make a path, but it's been new, it's been far, even for you, because the leader's always going to be confident, but even for you, it's been about, I'm figuring this out kind of as I go. What's one or two things that you found kind of in that journey, just for people that are listening and are like, I want to try something new, but I don't know strategy-wise how to go about it?
Yeah. I think I've almost felt it like this way. I'm going to try hear the voice of God, see where the wind is blowing, and then jump in.
Yeah.
And
you've never been scared to take risks?
No, I am scared. I'm more scared of not taking risks than I am of taking risks.
Okay.
So it's not like, yes, could be here.
Let's go for it. Yeah.
I'm pretty almost 51%.
I'm 98% sure.
But no. I would hate to get to the end of life and go, oh, I could have done.
Yeah.
Should have stepped out. And I think also it's a natural wiring. I think some people, like for instance, my wife Lara, she'll be very different. She would say I compliment her because I push her out into spaces where she wouldn't normally go. And then she brings balance to me when I'm going too far. So, like even this morning praying, thinking I've got some cool ideas that I'd love to test before God and see how they would work. And so I just think if you never start, you'll never know.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we could think, well, we need to have the perfect plan in order to get started. No, you don't. You don't need a perfect plan to get started. You can get started and then develop the plan. It's almost like changing the wheels or changing the oil while the car's driving. Okay, we're going to, because I think there's an element of faith and risk and, hey, this is a fun system, like opportunity to get things moving and growing. And as things begin to move, other people will see it and jump in. That's how I always feel. Like once people can see that something's happening, they'll jump into it. And help out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I've gone. I think we can almost overthink things and kill the vision before it ever has chance to breathe.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I love that. And even just, I want to keep going kind of with his thoughts. Just on, stepping out and doing something different, and things change. So right at the beginning of a leadership journey, or you're starting something for the first time, we're talking about stepping out. Right at the beginning, you maybe formulate this picture of where we want to be, what we want to do, the where, the destination, and then you start, you get going, but naturally things can often change, and new people like a team come alongside that maybe are gifted differently, have a different personality. Worldly circumstances change, and then the strategy, the path almost needs to have an ability to adapt and be flexible. And it makes me think a bit about just football. Good. Just for a second. That Man United have recently got a coach, and he came out in a quote, because he's got a very specific style. He's got a very specific strategy of play, and he obviously he's going to come to the club, and he is going to impress that onto the team and onto the management, because that's his philosophy, it's his strategy. But he said in an interview that it would be foolish to not look at the team first before trying to do. He said, it doesn't mean I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to look at the gifts and strengths of the team, and that will help guide me in how I kind of impress this vision, this strategy on. And that almost got me thinking as well, that we can start a journey as a leader, and we can start to put a strategy together, and we've got our vision. But God will often, talk about team, God will bring people along, and even that might begin to change, and that might begin to formulate or just begin to give you a new perspective on what the strategy can be and how it can look, because it's not the destination that's changing. That stayed the same. If you've got a goal and you believe in the goal and you're passionate about it, that can stay rock solid. Nothing has to happen to that. But would you say that as leaders, there's got to be an element of flexibility within the how, within the strategy, within the process of getting us there, just given the nature kind of the world? And did you experience that? Like if you look at the start of your journey to 8-9 years ago to how you're doing it now, would you say the strategy's changed?
It has changed. I think we've changed strategies a lot of times, and sometimes we've adopted strategies that honestly weren't really where we wanted to go, but they were good strategies. Yeah. But it wasn't necessarily one that fit us well, and so we've added and changed. The thing is, most leaders start out by themselves. Yeah. And then once they get going, they start attracting a team and developing a team, and they come together. And depending on that skill set and their passion and all of that, there's no point asking someone to do something that's radically different to who they are, because they're not going to do well. Yeah. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have to wash the dishes or do something you don't like, because that's just part of being a family, right? Yes. You do things you don't like. Yeah. But for someone to be caught up in something that they just cannot do long term, I think it will just drain and kill them off. And so back to your point about a football team, there's no point you're playing a high press, high intensity game, but everybody's unfit. Yeah. They're just not. They're going to do it for 20 minutes, and they're going to. It's the main ingredient. You just can't do it. Yeah. And so I think looking at the skills of the team that you have around you is important. But I also think that if you've got a clear vision of how you or where you're going and the kind of things that you need to get there, you will also then start looking for what you're missing. That's good. Yeah. And draw them in, and to use vision as a tool to draw people in to that role. Yes. Because again, the tail doesn't wag the dog wags the tail. Yeah, exactly. And so yes, we need to look at what we have so that we can maximize it, but then we need to add the areas that we don't have so that we can get to where we actually want to go, right? Otherwise, we're always just going to let what we have determine our vision. You also can't lead like that. No. You can't just wait for, like, you're almost a victim to your circumstance, and victim might not be the perfect word, but it's just it's what's in front of me. Okay, cool. Then I'm just going to do it exactly like this. And I'm like just thinking now, I think that will change the where in some way, because if you've got an ideal picture of the where, you've got ingredients to that need to come into play and need to come. So it's like, I love what you're saying there. It's not neglecting what's in front of you or trying to use it in a way that it was never meant to be used, but also don't forsake kind of the big picture as well, where
but we actually do need someone who thinks like this.
Yeah.
We actually do need someone who prepares in that way or brings that gift set to the table. So
Totally.
let's pray. Let's trust God.
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
believe together for that person, because that is one of the things we need to get to the where. So it's like I think, would you say that a good leader and a good strategist is able to balance those two things, to saying, yes, this is what we've got, let's use them to the full, but we're not just gonna settle here.
Yeah, 100%. Even just thinking biblically about it, Moses was told by God, okay, you're going to follow me, we're going to Canaan.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden he hits a sea, and it's like, okay, cool. We don't have any boat builders and we don't have any wood.
Yeah.
Problem.
Yeah.
But what happened is that God still made a way that was impossible for them to cross over.
Yeah.
Not a perfect analogy, but one that says, I'm not going to let what we have be the limiting factor as to where we're called to go.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's the element of the supernatural that we want to keep being engaged in, and in the prophetic of saying, cool, God, we believe the destination is from you. This is what we have, and we're going to maximize what we have. We're going to do things in a way that helps our team, and we're going to do the kinds of things that our team can do. But there's still an element of, this is what we need to get to where we actually have to be at.
Yeah.
And so we're going to trust you. We're going to cast vision for it. We're going to make a path for people with that skill set to be a part of our team in a way.
Yeah.
And so that might look like recruiting somebody, and if you're on a paid team, okay, well, we can't afford to pay you, but let's scale it in such a way that this is an area of service that can add value, a small piece to the big puzzle.
Yeah.
And I think that is where we need to keep thinking quite creatively and strategically about what are the things that we can do that are not sideways energy, but actually building towards the plan.
Yeah.
And I think what we've done is we've actually set out a 5-year plan. Like, people wouldn't know that because it's not something that we share with people.
Yeah.
But what the danger with people like me, and maybe you, I don't know, but to go, cool, the plan's there, but you actually have to keep looking at the plan
over and over again.
That navigation voice has to keep, okay, so many until you have to turn, so many meters left, right? And so I think it's just reviewing the plan so you can see, okay, this is where we're short.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put some energy into getting into that thing going.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've answered anything that needed to be answered, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think that's
you got to start before you're ready.
That's the thing.
But if you don't have a plan, if you don't develop a plan while you're going,
yes.
What do they say? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
And there was this story, I read a book recently called Effortless, and they're talking about these two teams went to the South Pole. They were having this race.
Yeah.
The one team planned well, the other team didn't. They just weren't on hard work.
Yeah.
And that team didn't make it.
No.
So plans are important.
Yeah, plans are important. And I think even just as in our last few minutes, maybe we can talk a little bit about, for the people that are watching and are thinking just about strategy and formulating a strategy, what that could look, what the starting point might look like. Because it's great. We've got great clarity on, don't try to do the whole plan and then only start. It's never going to be perfect. It's get going. Like,
things change. COVID comes and then everything changes. Then the way you were doing things is now no longer the way. So when formulating a strategy and when starting to think about the how that we're going to get here, I'd love for us maybe to discuss just briefly some, just one or two or three things that is important for people to look at. And I think maybe just to kick us off, and I think we can just kind of shoot off experience. Love to hear your voice.
As well. Yeah.
Love to hear your voice in this.
I think what's very important when it comes to strategy is to think about kind of the human resource side of things as well when it comes to the where we want to go, because it's a lot about who we're doing this thing together with. We're firm believers in, we're better together. We're better as a team. We're better as a community, because in community, you get a variety of different gifts. You get a variety of different personalities, work ethics, and things that when come together provide a fuller, more clearer picture of what God is doing. So I think when anybody is starting to look at a strategy and starting to look at, this is where I want to go, this is the goal, I think a great question to ask yourself is, who's with me right now? Who can I leverage in a great way? Who works well with me? How can we do this thing and build this thing together? And then begin to ask the questions of, what types of people do we need? What type of personality? What type of gift set do we need in order to bring this thing together so that we can get closer, so that we can start to understand and get a better picture of where we're going? Because I felt, even in our journey as a church, that when certain people came alongside us, when certain personalities, it felt like it fast-tracked where we were going. It felt like it fast-tracked the strategy. And there are so many different elements of strategy and systems and pioneering that can be given thought. But when it comes to people, I feel like that the right person in the right position in a strategy, I think is brilliant. Obviously, the lead is extremely important. The leader needs to be hearing from God and needs to be empowering and raising up. But I just find that the right person in the right position just brings a great fast tracking into any strategy. And like you're saying, they could come in and you can be, okay, this is how far we are away to the where. And then you can look again and be like, geez, we're a whole lot closer now. And I feel like great people have that effect on strategies. I would say the first thing is to just take stock of who's with you and what type of people do we need.
I think that's really good. And I read a book recently, this year, that the whole premise was the next big thing you need is a who, not a what. So we can all figure out what we need to do, but if we don't have a who's going to run it and actually develop it, then it's pointless. And the reality is, I think, is some leaders who can be quite controlling, and sometimes, like for me, I know how I want to do something. But when you've got good people, you don't need to have the how, because they have the how. What you need to be a guardian of is the culture and the where. And that's hard that is hard for people to let go of. And I think what I found on that people resource. People are people.
Let's just use everybody.
They're image bearers of Christ.
Exactly.
But is to say, cool, do we have the same vision? Then we can run. But if your vision and my vision are different about the future, then there's division, and division will cause us to break down. So as long as there's unity in vision and commitment to relationship, I think you're right. I think people have fast-tracked what God has put in us and called us to be a part of, and made things better than what they could have ever been otherwise.
No,
it's a brilliant point. Well done.
And even just if we're going to take that a step forward, I think when it comes to formulating strategy, it's great to have an honest question and have an honest conversation with yourself and maybe your leadership team, and to look at where we want to be, and then what we'll need to be there, what we'll need from a financial point of view, what we'll need from a structure and systems point of view, what we'll need from a people point of view. And then to almost begin to write those things down and then create ways that we can get to those things first. And then we'll have a better understanding, or we'll have a much closer trajectory to the where, because we're starting to create. So the goals aren't new. These goals are helping us get to the main goal, but it's almost breaking the vision, breaking the where down slightly into bite-sized chunks, into ways that team can understand, people who share the vision 100%. Can understand, and then you can always explain it or give it in a way that if we win in this area, if we do better at this, at equipping and training, at helping people take steps, at helping people get baptized, all of these things, this will help the vision of planting church. This will get us there. 100%. This will take us closer. To leave something as a big, like you mentioned, how do you eat an elephant vibe? To leave it as the elephant, how are we going to eat that? It's like, oh, geez, I don't know. Like we're going to need
a big fork and knife.
Some big forks and big knives. We're going to need lots of people, and it can become something that's more overwhelming and anxiety inducing. Then, well, let's break the sucker down. Let's cut him up in the nicest way. Let's cut him up and let's get little pieces, and let's start to eat these pieces. This is a horrible analogy.
This is a terrible.
But I'm running with.
I'm there.
I'm in it now. I can't stop. Let's eat these little pieces, and suddenly you don't have a whole elephant anymore. You might just have half or a quarter.
Sorry to all the elephant lovers out there.
Yeah, sorry. I love elephants as well.
It was the metaphorical elephant.
The metaphorical.
The one that's in the
no
room.
Elephants were harmed in the making of this podcast. But for me, it's understanding that we got a big goal, but there are other goals, other things that if we win and we achieve in these areas, these steps
to get there,
it takes us closer. There's also steps that you can go for that don't take you closer. That might seem like good things. It's also understanding, does this get us closer?
Yes.
Does this take us closer to the finish line? And if it does, break it down.
Great.
And make it simpler for you.
I love that. And I think it's important for us. The only thing I'd add to that, it's important for us to realize, is that we have to have a starting point.
Yeah.
So knowing where you want to go and think about what you need to, before you get there. I think that's the whole evaluation part where you're saying, let's evaluate what team we have. But it goes beyond just a team. It goes what resources do we currently have?
All of that stuff.
What environment do we currently have? Because you will need to make changes from where you are to where you want to be. It's like that whole GPS. Just looking on the map where you want to be doesn't help you unless you have a starting point. Because that's how the route gets mapped.
Yes.
I think it's looking honestly and saying, listen, we're not good at this, this, and this. Are you sure that's where we want to go? Yes, that's where we want to go. Okay, cool. Then we have to go about correcting these. And that maybe starts the journey.
Yeah. Would you say some journeys go backwards first?
I think, I wouldn't say backwards, but I would certainly say a realistic look in the mirror.
Is vital.
Is vital.
Yeah.
Right. Because you could want to become a model. But like,
maybe not.
I might be a good radio model.
Yeah.
Right. You know, there's no point in saying that's, we pretend to be very attractive.
Yeah.
So let's go. We pretend to be something we're not. No, let's look at what we really are.
Yeah, good.
And then go, okay, cool. Now we want to get there. These are the changes we have to make first.
Yeah.
And then we have to build that and talk about all those steps that you were talking about and achieving the goals and breaking them down. But I think without having a realistic look in the mirror.
Yeah, that's tough. That's difficult to do. And I mean, even just breaking it down, like we've got a goal for the next 5 years, but we've broken up the years. Like there's things we want to do in year 1. There's things we want to do in year 2 that don't involve planning a church directly, but they do get you closer and they do take it. They do. And I love even just having a look in the mirror. I mean, you'll never know how to move, how to take your next step if you don't truly understand and know where you are and what you're currently doing. Because like you're saying, it's pretending. It's creating something that isn't real and that's going to be very hard to build on. The foundation is weak. I don't know if there's anything, as we close, if there's anything from your side just on formulating and something to look at. But we have spoken about
I think again, it's just what we're coming down to saying is that we believe that God's given a great picture for every person. There's a vision inside of people. They just need to look, and we've discussed it in previous episodes. So go look at how to create a vision. Making a path to get there is going to be vital. It's the difference between the dream and the reality. Is the path. And I think we're not just called to make a path for ourselves, but we're called to make a path for other people, to help them to realize their call, their destiny, the visions and dreams that God's placed on their hearts. It's not just all about how are we going to get there, but how are other people going to get there or wherever there is. Right. And even just thinking about what we're called to as a church, yes, we're called to a where, but at the end of the day, we're never going to get there if people aren't growing up in Christ, that's the ultimate reality, is that people become fully like alive to Jesus. And so as a church, we've got a place where we're going together, but our responsibility is for people to grow close in their relationship with Jesus. And so we've got to make pathways for them. So that's like, okay, how do you read your Bible? Who is Jesus? How do I live out my Christianity? There are things that we've created paths for people there to develop that. And I think just must remember that it's, yes, what we're responsible for. We need to make a path for our personal dream.
That's good.
But we've also got to create paths for other people to realize their dream. And I think that's where fulfillment will come from. Not just to you getting to your finishing line, but seeing other people get to their finish line.
Path making has levels.
There's
levels to it. So I think that's a great way. I think that's a great way to end. And I want to encourage everybody that's listened or tuned in today and watched just the last few kind of episodes really tie super well together when it comes to vision creation and culture setting and even strategy. And there's a few other really good ones. So if you are tuning in today and you've enjoyed the podcast, it's been so good to have you. But it also encourage you to check out the other episodes. We hope that it can be helpful and value adding to you.
For sure.
And also just want to thank everybody again for the awesome kind of year of podcast making and creating community and being able to do this with you guys. All of our YouTube viewers, everybody that listens on the podcasting apps and the streaming sites. It's been a massive kind of it's been awesome.
It has been awesome.
And we
look forward, really good.
And we look forward to the future and future episodes in a big way.
We actually probably need to take a season break
Yes.
So I think what the next podcast will be a break.
Yes.
So we'll do one more podcast of this, have a break, and then be back before the end of January.
Yes.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yes. So
this is how I do my life.
I don't mind. Listen, without that little conversation, I wouldn't know. So you can look forward to one more podcast for the year of 2021, and then we're gonna get back into it.
Come to me for strategy.
That's it. Sven's the guy. You can come back just before the end of Jan, and we're going to get back into it for a massive. I mean, we believe 2022 is going to be a groundbreaking year for the podcast and for all of our community and listeners. So we just want to say, God bless you guys. We trust that you have an amazing, amazing rest of your week. And also don't forget, where possible, to share us, to like, subscribe on YouTube, to copy links, to paste them. Let's get the word out there and try to help as many people as we can.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. Cheers, everybody.
Bye.